The air in the drawing room felt thick, too thick. Serafina stood near the window, her hands folded in front of her pale blue gown. She tried not to listen. She tried not to breathe too loud. But every word her husband spoke seemed to bounce off the walls and hit her in the chest. "Your Grace," Lord Harrow said, his voice shaking, "I am begging you." Serafina glanced over her shoulder. Her husband stood in the center of the room, his face red, his hands trembling. Across from him sat the Duke of Ashford, Thorne Ashford, the man everyone whispered about, the man who owned half the county, the man who had never married. Thorne sat in the chair like a king. His dark coat fit him perfectly, his black hair was pushed back from his face, his eyes were grey, cold, sharp. He did not blink as he watched Lord Harrow grovel. "Please," Lord Harrow said again, "I will lose everything. The creditors are coming. The estate is gone. My daughter, she is young, beautiful, well-bred. She would make you a perfect wife." Serafina's stomach turned. She knew what was coming. She had known for weeks. Her husband had been pacing the halls at night. He had been muttering about debts, about ruin, about saving the family name. But this was something else. Thorne tilted his head. His fingers rested on the arm of the chair, slow and steady. He did not look angry. He did not look interested. He looked bored. "Your daughter," Thorne said, his voice low and smooth. "How old is she?" 18, Your Grace. Just turned. She is lovely, kind, obedient." Thorne's lips twitched. Not quite a smile. "Obedient." "Yes, Your Grace." Thorne leaned back in his chair. He crossed one leg over the other. His gaze slid across the room, and then it landed on Serafina. She froze. His eyes did not move. They stayed on her, grey and unreadable. She felt her heart start to pound. She looked away quickly, back toward the window, but she could still feel him watching her. "No," Thorne said. Lord Harrow blinked. Your Grace, please. I am not interested in your daughter." The room went quiet. Serafina's breath caught in her throat. She turned slightly, just enough to see her husband's face. He looked confused, desperate. "But, Your Grace, she is—" "I do not want your daughter," Thorne said again. His voice was calm, too calm. "I want your wife." The silence was instant, heavy, crushing. Serafina's hands went cold, her ears rang. She turned fully now, her eyes wide, her lips parted in shock. She stared at Thorne. He stared back. Lord Harrow made a choking sound. "What?" Thorne stood slowly. He was tall, taller than her husband, broader. He walked across the room with slow, measured steps. He stopped in front of Lord Harrow and looked down at him. "You heard me," Thorne said softly. "I do not want your daughter. I want Serafina." Serafina's name hung in the air like smoke. She could not move, could not speak. Her husband's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Your Grace, that is, she is my wife." "Yes," Thorne said, "and you are offering me your family in exchange for your debts. I am simply choosing which member I prefer." Lord Harrow's face turned white, then red, then white again. This is madness." Thorne's expression did not change. "You came to me, Lord Harrow. You asked me to save you. I am giving you terms." "But she is married. To me." "A marriage can be dissolved," Thorne said. His voice was still calm, still steady. "If both parties agree." Serafina's breath came faster now. Her chest felt tight. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But her feet would not move. "I will never agree," Lord Harrow shouted. "Never!" Thorne turned his head slightly. His grey eyes found Serafina again. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he looked back at her husband. "Then you will lose everything," Thorn said. "Your estate, your title, your reputation. Your daughter will have no dowry, no future. She will be ruined along with you." Lord Harrow's hands shook. You cannot." "I can," Thorn said, "and I will." He stepped back and straightened his coat. "You have 3 days to decide. Serafina comes with me, or you fall alone." He walked toward the door. His boots made no sound on the carpet. He paused at the threshold and looked back at Serafina one more time. 3 days, he said softly. Then he was gone. The room exploded. Lord Harrow shouted. He cursed. He threw a vase against the wall. Serafina did not move. She stood by the window, her hands pressed against her stomach, her mind spinning. What had just happened? But she already knew. The Duke of Ashford had just bought her like a piece of furniture, and her husband had 3 days to decide if he would sell. Serafina did not sleep that night. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. The words kept repeating in her head. "I want your wife." Why? Why her? She was nothing special. She was 26 years old. She had been married for 8 years. She had no children, no beauty that men wrote poems about. She was simply there, a quiet shadow in her husband's house. She had married Lord Harrow when she was 18. It had been arranged. Her father had owed money to his father. The marriage had cleared the debt. She had been a transaction then, too. Lord Harrow had never loved her. He had never pretended to. He was kind enough in public, cold in private. He spent his nights gambling, drinking, spending money they did not have. And now, after 8 years, he had gambled it all away, and she was the price to pay it back. Serafina turned onto her side and pulled the blanket tighter around herself. She thought about the Duke, Thorn Ashford. She had seen him before, at balls, at dinners, always from a distance. He never danced, never smiled. He stood in corners and watched people like a wolf watching sheep. Rumors followed him everywhere. Some said he had killed a man in a duel. Others said he had broken a woman's heart so badly she had thrown herself into a river. Some said he was cursed, that his family line was cursed, that every woman who loved him died. Serafina did not believe in curses, but she believed in dangerous men. And Thorn Ashford was the most dangerous man she had ever seen. The door to her room opened. She did not turn. She knew who it was. "Serafina," Lord Harrow said. His voice was rough, tired. "Go away," she said quietly. "We need to talk." "No, we do not." He came closer. She heard his boots on the floor. He stopped beside the bed. She still did not look at him. "I am not giving you to him," he said. She laughed. It was a bitter sound. "You already did." "I did not." "You brought him here," she said, finally turning to look at him. "You offered him our daughter. You begged him to save you. And when he asked for me instead, you did not say no right away. You hesitated." His face twisted. "I was in shock." "You were calculating," she said coldly. "You were trying to decide if I was worth more than your pride." He flinched. Good. She wanted him to flinch. "I will find another way," he said. "There is no other way. You have borrowed from everyone. No one will lend to you. The creditors are coming in 2 days. If you do not pay, they will take everything. I will not lose you to him." Serafina sat up slowly. She looked at her husband. Really looked at him. His hair was greying. His face was lined. He looked old, tired, broken. "You already lost me," she said softly. "A long time ago." He stared at her. Then he turned and left without another word. Serafina lay back down. She closed her eyes, and she wondered what it would feel like to belong to someone else. But she didn't know that someone was listening outside her door. Someone who had come to deliver a message. Someone who would carry her words back to the Duke. The next morning, A letter arrived. Serafina was sitting in the garden when the butler brought it to her on a silver tray. The envelope was thick, cream-colored. The wax seal was black, stamped with a wolf's head, the Ashford family crest. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was sharp and precise. "Lady Serafina, I would like to speak with you. Alone. Come to Ashford Manor this afternoon at 3 o'clock. A carriage will be sent for you. Do not tell your husband. T.A." She read it 3 times. Her heart pounded harder with each reading. He wanted to see her. Alone, without her husband knowing. She should refuse. She should burn the letter and pretend it never came. But something inside her, something small and reckless, whispered, "Go." At 2:30, she changed into a simple grey dress. She told the housekeeper she was visiting a friend. She did not say which friend. She did not say where. The carriage arrived exactly at 3. It was black and polished, pulled by 4 black horses. The driver did not speak. He simply opened the door and waited. Serafina climbed inside. The door closed. The carriage moved. She had never been to Ashford Manor. She had only heard stories. It was old, ancient, built on land that had belonged to the Ashford family for 500 years. Some said the house was haunted. Others said it was beautiful. Serafina would soon find out. The ride took 20 minutes. When the carriage stopped, she looked out the window and gasped. The manor was massive. Dark stone walls covered in ivy, tall windows like eyes, a heavy oak door at the front. It looked like something from a fairy tale, the kind where the princess gets locked in a tower and never escapes. The driver opened the door. Serafina stepped out slowly. Her legs felt weak. The front door opened before she could knock. A butler stood there. Old, grey, expressionless. "Lady Serafina," he said. "His Grace is expecting you." She followed him inside. The entrance hall was enormous. Dark wood, high ceilings, portraits of stern-faced men and women lining the walls. She felt their painted eyes follow her as she walked. The butler led her down a long hallway and stopped at a door. He knocked once. A voice answered from inside. "Come." The butler opened the door. Serafina stepped inside. It was a library. Shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, filled with books. A fire crackled in the hearth, and standing by the window, his back to her, was Thorn. He did not turn right away. He stood there, looking out at the grounds, his hands clasped behind his back. "Close the door," he said. She did. The click echoed in the quiet room. He turned then, slowly. His grey eyes found hers immediately. He studied her for a long moment. She forced herself not to look away. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I did not have much choice," she replied. His lips twitched, almost a smile. "You always have a choice." "Do I?" He walked toward her, not fast, not slow, just steady. He stopped a few feet away, close enough that she could see the sharp line of his jaw, the faint scar above his left eyebrow. "Why did you ask for me?" she said quietly. "You could have had anyone. My husband's daughter, a younger woman, a richer woman. Why me?" Thorn tilted his head slightly. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Because you are the only one in that house who is not a fool." She blinked. "What?" "Your husband is a fool. His daughter is a fool. But you," he paused, "you are different. You do not know me." "I have been watching you," he said. Her blood went cold. "Watching me?" "For months," he said calmly. "At dinners, at balls. You stand in corners. You do not speak unless spoken to. You smile when you are supposed to. You laugh when it is expected. But your eyes," he stepped closer. "Your eyes are always somewhere else." She could not breathe. He had been watching her, for months, and she had never noticed. "You are wasted on him," Thorne said softly. "You are wasted in that house, with that life." "So you decided to buy me?" she said, her voice sharper now. "No," he said. "I decided to give you a choice." "A choice?" She laughed bitterly. "You gave my husband an ultimatum, me or ruin. That is not a choice." "It is," Thorne said, "because I am giving you the same one." She stared at him. "What?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He held it out to her. She took it slowly and unfolded it. It was a contract, written in precise legal language, but the terms were simple. If she agreed, Thorne would pay off her husband's debts. He would dissolve her marriage. She would come to live at Ashford Manor as his wife. But, and this part made her heart stop, if she ever wanted to leave, she could. At any time. With a house, an income, and her freedom. She looked up at him. This is real?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I do not want a prisoner," Thorne said quietly. "I want someone who chooses to stay." Tears burned behind her eyes. She did not know why. Maybe because no one had ever given her a choice before. Not ever. "You have until tomorrow," Thorne said. "Think about it. Decide." He turned away and walked back toward the window. Serafina stared at the contract in her hands. Her mind spun. Her heart raced. She had 3 days to decide if she would stay in a cage she knew, or step into a new one with a lock she could open. Yet something felt wrong. A man like Thorne did not give choices out of kindness. There was something he was not telling her, and she needed to find out what. When Serafina returned home, the house felt different, colder, darker. She had barely stepped through the front door when a voice screamed from the top of the stairs, "You!" Serafina looked up. Her husband's daughter Lillian stood at the top of the grand staircase. Her face was red, her hands were clenched into fists. "How dare you!" Lillian shouted. She stormed down the stairs, her skirts swishing violently. "How dare you!" Serafina took a step back. "Lillian, calm down. Calm down!" Lillian stopped in front of her. Her eyes were wild. "The Duke asked for you! For you! Do you know what that means?" "Lillian." "It means I am ruined!" Lillian shrieked. "It means no one will want me now. Everyone will know that the Duke of Ashford chose my stepmother over me. They will laugh at me. They will say I am not good enough." Serafina's chest tightened. She had not thought about this. She had not thought about what it would mean for Lillian. "I did not ask for this," Serafina said quietly. "But you are going to take it, are you not?" Lillian said bitterly. "You are going to leave us, leave me, and go be a duchess." "I have not decided." "Liar!" Lillian's voice cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You have always hated me. You have always hated this family. And now you finally have a way out and you are going to take it." "That is not true." "Yes, it is," Lillian sobbed. "You never loved my father. You never cared about me. You have been waiting for this, waiting for someone to come and save you." Serafina's throat burned. She wanted to deny it. She wanted to say Lillian was wrong, but the words would not come. Because deep down, Lillian was right. She had been waiting for something, anything, to change. Lillian wiped her eyes roughly. "I hope you are miserable with him," she whispered. "I hope he breaks your heart the way you are breaking mine." She turned and ran up the stairs. A door slammed somewhere above. Serafina stood alone in the entrance hall. Her hands shook. Her chest ached. She had not wanted to hurt Lillian. She had not wanted to hurt anyone. But it seemed like no matter what she chose, someone would be hurt. That night, Lord Harrow came to her room again. Serafina was sitting by the fire, staring into the flames. She did not look up when the door opened. "I spoke to the Duke," Lord Harrow said. She did not respond. "He told me you went to see him today." Still nothing. "Serafina," his voice was quieter now, almost pleading. "Please, talk to me." She finally looked at him. His face was pale. His eyes were red. He looked like a man on the edge of a cliff. "What do you want me to say?" she asked. "Tell me you are not going to leave." She laughed softly. "Why would I stay?" "Because I am your husband." "You have never been my husband," she said. "Not really. You married me because your father told you to. You stayed with me because it was easier than getting rid of me. But you never loved me. You never even liked me." His jaw tightened. "That is not true." "Yes, it is." He crossed the room and knelt in front of her. She stared at him in shock. He took her hands in his. "I know I have not been a good husband," he said. "I know I have made mistakes, but please, do not leave me. Do not leave Lillian. She needs you." "She hates me." "She is scared," he said. "She is angry because she is scared. But she loves you, in her own way." Serafina's eyes burned. "And what about you?" He hesitated, and in that hesitation she had her answer. She pulled her hands away. "You do not love me," she said. "You just do not want to lose. You do not want the Duke to take something from you." "That is not—" "Get out," she said quietly. "Serafina." "Get out!" Her voice broke. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the door. He paused with his hand on the handle. "If you go to him," he said softly, "I will not forgive you." "I do not need your forgiveness," she said. He left. The door closed. Serafina sat by the fire and cried, not because she was sad, but because she was free. For the first time in 8 years, she felt free. But she didn't know that her decision would set off a chain of events that would change everything. Someone in that house was more desperate than she realized, and desperation made people dangerous. Serafina could not sleep. Again. She wandered the house in her nightgown, a shawl wrapped around her shoulders. The halls were dark, silent. Everyone was asleep. She found herself outside her husband's study. The door was slightly open. A faint light glowed inside. She pushed the door open quietly. The room was a mess. Papers everywhere, empty bottles of brandy, a candle burning low on the desk. She stepped inside and looked around. She had not been in this room in years. Her husband had made it clear it was his space, his sanctuary. Her eyes fell on the desk, on the papers scattered across it. She moved closer, her curiosity pulling her forward. They were letters, dozens of them, from creditors, from banks, from people demanding payment. But there was something else. A leather journal tucked under a stack of bills. She pulled it out slowly. The cover was worn. She opened it. Her breath caught. It was her husband's handwriting. Page after page of notes, names, dates, amounts. And then she saw it. A name that made her blood run cold. Thorne Ashford. She flipped through the pages faster now. Her heart pounded. The journal detailed everything, every bet her husband had made, every loan he had taken. And there, written in black ink, was the truth. Her husband had not gone to Thorne for help. Thorne had come to him. 3 months ago, Thorne had offered to buy the debts, all of them, in exchange for one thing: Serafina. Her hands shook. The journal fell from her fingers and hit the floor with a loud thud. This had been planned. All of it. The meeting, the proposal, the ultimatum. Thorne had orchestrated everything. But why? Why go to such lengths? Looking for something? She spun around. Thorne stood in the doorway. He wore a dark coat and boots. His gray eyes were calm, unreadable. "You," she breathed. You planned this. Yes. Why? He stepped into the room. He closed the door behind him. Because I wanted you. You do not even know me. I know enough, he said. He moved closer. I know you are brave. I know you are clever. I know you have been trapped in this house for 8 years, and no one has ever asked you what you wanted. So you manipulated my husband? You bought his debts? You set this whole thing up just to what? Own me? No, Thorne said quietly. To give you a reason to leave. She stared at him. What? You would never have left on your own, he said. You would have stayed here, stayed in this house, with a man who does not love you, a daughter who blames you, a life that was killing you slowly. He stopped in front of her. So I gave you a reason. I gave you an out. By making me a bargaining chip? She said, her voice rising. By turning me into something to be traded? By giving you a choice, he said. You can stay here, with him, and watch your life waste away. Or you can come with me. And be your wife? Your prisoner? No. His voice was firm now. Be my partner. She shook her head. I do not understand. Thorne took a breath. For the first time she saw something flicker in his eyes, something that looked almost like vulnerability. I need a wife, he said. Not for love, not for children, for protection. Protection from what? From my family, he said. From the people who want to see me fail. There are men who would do anything to take what I have. Land, money, power, and the easiest way to destroy a man like me is to control who he marries. If I marry a woman they choose, I lose. If I marry a woman they cannot control, he paused. I win. Serafina's mind raced. So this is about power. Everything is about power, Thorne said. But it is also about freedom. Yours and mine. She looked at him, really looked at him. The sharp lines of his face, the coldness in his eyes. But underneath it she saw something else, something lonely. I do not trust you, she said. Good, he said. You should not. Not yet. Then why should I say yes? He smiled, a small, sad smile. Because you do not trust anyone, including yourself, but at least with me, you will have a choice. She wanted to argue, she wanted to scream, but she could not. Because he was right. She had spent 8 years in a cage, and now someone was offering her a key, even if the person holding the key was dangerous. Yet someone was listening. Someone who had followed Thorne to the house. Someone who would make sure Serafina's decision would cost her more than she ever imagined. Serafina did not sleep that night either. She sat in her room, staring at the contract Thorne had given her. She read it over and over until the words blurred together. By dawn, she had made her decision. She dressed in a simple blue gown. She pinned her hair up carefully. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her reflection stared back, pale, tired, but determined. She went downstairs. Her husband was in the dining room, sitting at the table with his head in his hands. He looked up when she entered. Serafina, he said. Hope flickered in his eyes. She placed the contract on the table in front of him. I am leaving, she said. His face crumbled. No. I am sorry, she said, and she meant it. She was sorry for Lillian, sorry for the mess this would cause, but she was not sorry for choosing herself. Please, he whispered, do not do this. It is already done. She turned and walked out of the room. She did not look back. A carriage was waiting outside, the same black carriage from before. The driver opened the door. She climbed inside. The door closed. The carriage moved. And just like that, she left her old life behind. Serafina arrived at Ashford Manor just as the sun broke over the horizon. The house looked different in the daylight, less haunted, more grand. Thorn was waiting at the door. He did not smile. He simply nodded. "Welcome home." Home. The word felt strange in her mouth. He led her inside. The butler took her cloak. A housekeeper appeared and curtsied. "Mrs. Dalton will show you to your rooms," Thorn said. "Rest. We will talk later." Serafina followed Mrs. Dalton up the grand staircase and down a long hallway. The housekeeper stopped at a set of double doors and pushed them open. Serafina stepped inside and gasped. The room was enormous. A four-poster bed with deep green curtains, a fireplace, a sitting area, tall windows overlooking the gardens. It was beautiful. More beautiful than any room she had ever had. "This is yours, my lady," Mrs. Dalton said. "His Grace's rooms are just through that door." She pointed to a connecting door on the far wall. Serafina's stomach tightened. "We share rooms?" "Only if you wish, my lady," Mrs. Dalton said gently. "The door locks from your side." Serafina nodded slowly. "Thank you." Mrs. Dalton curtsied and left. Serafina stood alone in the center of the room. She turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. This was hers. This space, this freedom. But it did not feel real yet. She walked to the window and looked out at the gardens. They were wild, overgrown, beautiful in a tangled, chaotic way. A soft knock on the connecting door made her jump. "Come in," she said. The door opened. Thorn stepped inside. He had changed into simpler clothes, a white shirt, dark trousers. He looked different, less like a duke, more like a man. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes." "Good." He paused. "I wanted to give you this." He held out a small iron key. She took it. "What is this?" "The key to your door," he said, "and to the east wing. You can go anywhere in this house. You are not a prisoner." She looked down at the key in her palm. It felt heavy. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. Then he turned to leave. "Thorn," she said. He stopped, looked back. "Why did you really choose me?" she asked. "The truth." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Because you looked at me once. At a ball, 2 years ago. You were standing by a column. Your husband was drunk. His friends were laughing. And you looked at me." He paused. Not with fear, not with curiosity, but with recognition. Like you saw something in me that I see in myself. Her breath caught. She remembered that night. She remembered seeing him across the room. She remembered thinking, "He looks as lonely as I feel." "I never forgot that look," Thorn said softly. "And I never forgot you." He left before she could respond. Serafina stood by the window, the key still in her hand, her heart pounding. She had thought this was about power, about freedom, but maybe it was about something else entirely. Yet something felt wrong. A shadow moved in the garden below. Someone was watching, and whoever it was, they were not happy about her arrival. 3 days passed. Serafina settled into Ashford Manor slowly. She explored the library. She walked the gardens. She had meals with Thorn in a quiet, comfortable silence. He did not push her. He did not demand anything. He simply existed beside her. It was strange and oddly peaceful. But on the 4th day, everything changed. Serafina was in the library, reading by the fire, when the butler appeared in the doorway. "My lady," he said, his voice tight. "There is a visitor." She looked up. "A visitor?" "Yes, my lady. She insists on seeing you." "She?" The butler hesitated. "Miss Lillian Harrow." Serafina's stomach dropped. She stood quickly. "Where is she?" "In the drawing room." Serafina hurried down the hall. She pushed open the drawing room door. Lillian stood in the center of the room. Her face was red, her eyes were swollen. She looked like she had been crying for days. "Lillian," Serafina said softly, "what are you doing here?" "I came to see you," Lillian said. Her voice was shaking. "I came to beg you." "Beg me?" "To come back." Lillian's voice broke. "Please, please come back. My father, he is not well. He has not eaten. He has not slept. He just sits in his study and stares at the wall. He is falling apart, and it is all because of you." Serafina's chest tightened. "Lillian." "He needs you," Lillian cried. "I need you. Please. I am sorry for what I said. I am sorry I was cruel, but please, do not leave us like this." Serafina crossed the room and took Lillian's hands. They were cold, trembling. "I am sorry," Serafina said gently. "I am so sorry, but I cannot go back." "Why not?" Lillian sobbed. "Why? Do you love him? The Duke? Do you love him more than us?" "No," Serafina said. "I do not love him, but I cannot stay in a place where I am not wanted, where I am not valued." "You are wanted," Lillian insisted. "You are valued." "By who?" Serafina asked quietly. "Your father? You? Neither of you ever asked me what I wanted. Neither of you ever cared if I was happy." Lillian pulled her hands away, her face twisted with anger. "So this is about you, your happiness, your freedom. What about us? What about what we need?" "You do not need me, Lillian," Serafina said. "You never did." Lillian's face crumpled. She turned and ran from the room. The front door slammed a moment later. Serafina stood alone, her heart aching. She had not wanted to hurt Lillian, but she could not go back. Not now. Not ever. She turned and found Thorn standing in the doorway. He had been listening. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded, but she was not sure if it was true. But she didn't know that Lillian's visit was just the beginning. Someone had sent her. Someone who wanted Serafina to feel guilty, to doubt herself, to leave Thorn and go back where she belonged. And that someone was closer than she thought. A week passed. Serafina tried to put Lillian's visit out of her mind. She tried to focus on her new life, her new home. But something had shifted. Thorn was different, quieter. He watched her more carefully now, like he was waiting for her to run. One evening, a storm rolled in. The sky went dark. Rain pounded against the windows. Thunder shook the walls. Serafina was in the library when the lights went out. She gasped. The fire was the only light now, flickering and dim. "Serafina?" Thorn's voice came from the doorway. "I am here," she said. He crossed the room. He carried a candle. The light made shadows dance across his face. "The storm knocked out the lamps," he said. "It happens sometimes. They will be back by morning." She nodded. "All right." He set the candle on the table. "Are you afraid of storms?" "No," she said. Then, softer, "Maybe a little." He smiled. "Just a little." "Would you like company?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." He sat down in the chair across from her. The fire crackled between them. The storm raged outside. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Thorn spoke. "Tell me something about you," he said. "Something no one else knows." She looked at him. "Why?" "Because I want to know you," he said. "The real you, not the version you show the world." She thought for a moment. Then she said, "I wanted to be a painter." He raised an eyebrow. "A painter?" "Yes, when I was young, before I was married, I used to paint every day. Landscapes, portraits, whatever I saw." She smiled sadly. "I was not very good, but I loved it. It made me feel free." "Why did you stop?" My husband did not approve, she said. He said it was not appropriate for a lady, that it was a waste of time. She looked down at her hands. So I stopped. Thorn was quiet. Then he said, "There is a studio, in the East Wing. It has not been used in years, but it is yours, if you want it." She looked up at him, her eyes wide. "You mean that?" "Yes." Tears burned in her eyes. "Thank you." He nodded. Then he said, "Tell me something else." She smiled through the tears. "Your turn first." He leaned back in his chair. "All right. I am afraid of mirrors." She blinked. "What?" "Mirrors," he said. "I do not like them. I avoid them when I can." "Why?" He hesitated. Then he said, "Because I do not like what I see." Her heart squeezed. "What do you see?" "A man who has everything," he said quietly, "and nothing at all." The words hung in the air between them, heavy, true. Serafina reached across the small space and took his hand. He looked down at their joined hands, then up at her. "You are not nothing," she said softly. His jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he might pull away. But he did not. He held on. And they sat like that, in the firelight, while the storm raged around them. For the first time, Serafina felt something shift inside her. Something warm, something dangerous, something that felt almost like hope. But she didn't know that in the shadows of the house, someone was watching them. Someone who had been sent to make sure Thorn's plan failed. And they were ready to strike. The next morning, everything fell apart. Serafina woke to shouting. She threw on a dressing gown and ran downstairs. Thorn was in the entrance hall. His face was pale. His hands were clenched into fists. A man she did not recognize stood in front of him. He was tall, well-dressed, and he looked furious. "Who is that?" Serafina asked Mrs. Dalton, who stood nearby. "Lord Calloway," the housekeeper whispered. "His Grace's cousin." Serafina's blood ran cold. She remembered Thorn's words. "There are men who want to see me fail." "You have destroyed everything," Lord Calloway shouted. "You married her. That woman. Do you know what you have done?" "I know exactly what I have done," Thorn said, his voice dangerously calm. "You were supposed to marry Lady Catherine. The family agreed. The contracts were drawn up. And you threw it all away for some used-up baron's wife." Serafina flinched. The words hit her like a slap. Thorn stepped forward. His voice dropped to a growl. "Say one more word about her, and I will break your jaw." Lord Calloway laughed bitterly. "So it is true. You care about her. You actually care." He shook his head. "You fool. You have handed them everything." "Who?" Thorn demanded. "The creditors, the court, everyone." Lord Calloway pulled a folded document from his coat. "This is a petition, signed by 12 members of the family. They are contesting your authority. They are challenging your control of the estate. And they are using your marriage as proof that you are unfit." Thorn's face went white. "What?" "They say you have lost your mind," Lord Calloway said. "That you married a woman beneath your station out of obsession. That you are no longer capable of managing the family legacy." He threw the document on the floor. "The hearing is in 3 days, and unless you can prove them wrong, they will take everything." Serafina's heart pounded. This was her fault. She had agreed to marry him. She had come here, and now he was going to lose everything because of her. Lord Calloway turned to leave. He paused at the door and looked back at Serafina. "You should leave," he said coldly, "before you destroy him completely." He left. The door slammed. Thorn stood frozen. His hands shook. "Thorn," Serafina said softly. He turned to her. His grey eyes were filled with something she had never seen before. Rage and fear. "This is not your fault," he said. Yes, it is, she whispered. No. He crossed the room and took her shoulders. This was always going to happen. They have been waiting for an excuse, any excuse. But I gave them one. You gave me a reason to fight, he said fiercely. Do not take that away from me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. What are we going to do? He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, We are going to win. Yet something felt wrong. Serafina could see it in his eyes. He was not telling her everything. There was a part of this plan, a part of this fight, that he was keeping from her. And she needed to find out what it was before it was too late. That night, Serafina could not sit still. She paced her room. She tried to read. She tried to paint, but nothing helped. Finally, she went to Thorn's study. She knocked. No answer. She opened the door. The room was empty, but the desk was covered in papers, letters, documents. She should not look. She knew she should not, but something inside her pushed her forward. She walked to the desk and began to read. Her heart sank with every word. The documents detailed everything: the family's plot, the petition, the hearing. But there was something else. A letter, addressed to Thorn, from a lawyer. It said that if Thorn lost the hearing, the marriage would be dissolved. Serafina would be sent back to her husband, and Thorn would lose everything. But there was a clause, a way out. If Serafina testified at the hearing, if she stood before the court and swore that she had married him willingly, that she loved him, that they were a true partnership, then the family's case would fall apart. Serafina's hands shook. Thorn had not told her. He had not asked her to do this. He had been planning to fight alone. But why? Because I did not want to force you. She spun around. Thorn stood in the doorway. His face was tired, sad. You read the letter, he said. Yes. He walked into the room and closed the door. I was going to tell you, eventually. When? She demanded. After you lost everything? I did not want to put this on you, he said. You have already given up so much. I did not want to ask you to give up more. What more could I give? She asked. What more do you want? He looked at her, really looked at her, and then he said, Your heart. The words hung in the air. Serafina's breath caught. What? If you testify, he said quietly, they will ask you if you love me. And if you lie, they will know. They will tear you apart on that stand. The only way this works is if you mean it. He paused. And I will not ask you to lie. Her heart pounded. So what do we do? You leave, he said. I give you the house, the income, the freedom I promised, and you go live your life. And you? I lose, he said simply. But at least you will be safe. Serafina stared at him. She saw the weight in his eyes, the exhaustion, the resignation, and something inside her snapped. No, she said. He blinked. What? No, she said again, louder. I am not leaving. Serafina, I am not leaving. She crossed the room and grabbed his coat. You gave me a choice. You gave me freedom. You gave me a life I never thought I could have. And now you think I am just going to walk away and let you fall. This is not your fight, he said. Yes, it is, she said fiercely. You made it my fight the moment you asked for me, the moment you chose me. Tears streamed down her face. And I am not going to let you lose. Not now. Not ever. He stared at her. His grey eyes were wide, shocked. I will testify, she said. I will stand in front of that court, and I will tell them the truth. What truth? He whispered. She looked up at him, and she said the words she had been too afraid to say, even to herself. That I love you. The room went silent. Thorn's face crumbled. He pulled her into his arms and held her so tightly she could barely breathe. "Say it again," he whispered. "I love you," she said against his chest. "I love you." He pulled back just enough to look at her. Then he kissed her. It was not gentle. It was desperate, fierce, like he was drowning and she was air. She kissed him back just as hard, her hands tangled in his hair, his arms wrapped around her waist. And for the first time in her life, Serafina felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. But they did not know that someone had seen them. Someone who would take the news back to the family. Someone who would make sure the hearing was even more brutal than they ever imagined. The courtroom was cold. Grey stone walls, high ceilings, rows of wooden benches filled with people. Serafina sat beside Thorn at the front. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Across the room sat the family, 12 of them, all dressed in black, all glaring at her with hatred. Lord Calloway stood at the front. He was the one presenting the case. The judge entered, an old man with a stern face. He sat down and banged his gavel. "We are here to determine the mental fitness of Thorn Ashford, Duke of Ashford, and his ability to manage the family estate," the judge said. "Lord Calloway, you may begin." Lord Calloway stood. He smiled. It was a cruel smile. "Your Honour," he said, "this case is simple. The Duke has lost his mind. He has married a woman of no status, no fortune, no value. A woman who was already married to another man. He has thrown away contracts, alliances, the future of this family. All for one woman." He turned and looked at Serafina. "And we intend to prove that this marriage is a sham." Serafina's stomach twisted. Lord Calloway called witness after witness. Servants from Ashford Manor, people from town, even Lillian. Lillian took the stand. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. "Miss Harrow," Lord Calloway said, "tell the court, did Lady Serafina love your father?" "No," Lillian whispered. "Did she care for your family?" "No." "And when the Duke offered to take her, did she hesitate?" Lillian's eyes filled with tears. "No, she left without looking back." Serafina's chest ached. She wanted to stand up, to explain, but Thorn's hand found hers under the table. He squeezed it gently. "Wait," his touch said. Finally, it was their turn. Thorn's lawyer stood. He called Thorn to the stand first. "Your Grace," the lawyer said, "why did you marry Lady Serafina?" Thorn looked at the room, then at Serafina. "Because I love her," he said simply. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "And did you marry her for power? For money? For status?" "No," Thorn said. "I married her because she is the only person who has ever seen me. The real me. Not the title, not the money. Just me." The room went quiet. Then the lawyer called Serafina to the stand. She stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. She walked to the front and sat down. Her hands gripped the armrests of the chair. Lord Calloway stepped forward. His eyes were cold. "Lady Serafina," he said, "do you love the Duke?" She looked at Thorn. He watched her with those grey eyes, trusting, waiting. She looked back at Lord Calloway. "Yes," she said, "I love him." "And how long have you loved him?" She paused. Then she said, "I think I have loved him since the moment he gave me a choice." "A choice?" Lord Calloway repeated. "You mean when he bought your husband's debts, when he manipulated your entire life so you would have no option but to come to him?" "No," Serafina said firmly. "He gave me a choice when he handed me a contract that said I could leave whenever I wanted. He gave me a choice when he gave me freedom, and he gave me a choice when he asked me to testify today." She stood up. Her voice was strong now, clear. "I am here because I choose to be, not because I have to be, but because I want to be." The room was silent. Lord Calloway's face twisted. You expect this court to believe that? That you, a woman who abandoned her family, her husband, her stepdaughter, that you are capable of love? Yes, she said, because I finally learned to love myself first. The room erupted. People shouted. The judge banged his gavel. But Serafina did not look away from Lord Calloway. She did not flinch. Finally, the judge called for order. I have heard enough, he said. I will make my ruling. The room went silent. The judge looked at Thorn, then at Serafina, then at the family. The petition is denied, he said. The Duke's marriage is legitimate. His authority stands. The room exploded. The family shouted. Lord Calloway's face turned red. But Thorn did not move. He just looked at Serafina, and he smiled. They had won. Yet something felt wrong. Lord Calloway's face was too calm now, too satisfied, like he knew something they did not. And as they left the courtroom, Serafina saw him whisper something to one of the men in black. The fight was not over. Not yet. They returned to Ashford Manor that evening, exhausted, relieved, but wary. Thorn poured them both a drink. They sat by the fire in the library. We did it, Serafina said softly. You did it, Thorn said. He looked at her. I could not have won without you. She smiled. We are a partnership, remember? He leaned over and kissed her. Slow, gentle, full of promise. But then the door burst open. Mrs. Dalton stood there. Her face was pale, terrified. Your Grace, she gasped. There are men outside, with torches. Thorn stood immediately. What? The family, Mrs. Dalton said. They have come, and they are not alone. Thorn and Serafina ran to the window. Outside, a crowd had gathered, at least 20 men, carrying torches, shouting. They are going to burn it down, Serafina whispered. Thorn's jaw tightened. No, they are not. He turned and grabbed his coat. Stay here. No, Serafina said. She grabbed his arm. I'm coming with you. Serafina, we are partners, she said firmly. Where you go, I go. He looked at her. Then he nodded. They went outside together. The crowd went silent when they saw them. Lord Calloway stepped forward. His face was twisted with rage. You think you won? He spat. You think the court can protect you? Yes, Thorn said calmly. That is how the law works. The law does not matter here, Lord Calloway said. You have shamed this family. You have destroyed our legacy, and we will not let you keep it. Then take it, Thorn said. The crowd murmured. What? Lord Calloway said. Take it, Thorn repeated. The title, the estate, the money, take it all. Serafina stared at him. Thorn. He looked at her. His eyes were calm, sure. I do not need it anymore. He turned back to the crowd. I spent my whole life thinking I needed this. The power, the control, the legacy. But I was wrong. He took Serafina's hand. The only thing I need is her. And if you want the rest, you can have it. The crowd went silent. Lord Calloway's face went red, then white. You cannot. I can, Thorn said, and I am. He looked at Serafina. Let us go. They turned and walked away, together, hand in hand. The crowd did not follow. They just stood there, confused, defeated. Because Thorn had given them what they wanted, and in doing so, he had taken away their power. 3 months later, Serafina stood in the garden of a small cottage by the sea. The wind blew through her hair. The sun was warm on her face. She held a paintbrush in her hand. A canvas sat on an easel in front of her. She was painting the ocean, the waves, the sky. Thorn came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. How is it coming? He asked. Slowly, she said. She leaned back against him. But I like it. I like it too. They had left Ashford Manor, left the title, left the money. Thorne had signed everything over to the family, and in return, they had left him alone. He had taken the small inheritance his mother had left him, enough to buy this cottage, enough to live simply, and it was enough. "Do you miss it?" Serafina asked. "The manor? The power?" "No," Thorne said. He kissed the side of her neck. "I have everything I need right here." She smiled. "So do I." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other, watching the sea. "I have something to tell you," Serafina said softly. "What?" She turned in his arms. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. His eyes went wide. "Are you—" She nodded. Tears filled her eyes. "Yes." Thorne's face broke into the biggest smile she had ever seen. He picked her up and spun her around. She laughed, a real, full laugh. When he set her down, he cupped her face in his hands. "I love you," he said. "I love you too," she whispered. And as the sun set over the ocean, Serafina realized something. She had spent her whole life waiting for someone to save her, but in the end, she had saved herself. And she had found something even better than freedom. She had found love.